Hello, and welcome to a new series that I'm calling A Song in 7 Days. I'm writing a new song every month in 2018, but there's one simple catch. From the moment I have the idea for the song, I have 7 days to finish it. This is the story of how I wrote the song New Year, Still Me. So, I've just had an idea for a song. My mum has just thrown out the Radio Times, the Christmas Radio Times, because it's January. Christmas is over. And obviously a lot of people write songs about Christmas and nice festive things. And it's just occurred to me that I could write a song about this sort of period of time, this sort of no man's land of, people getting gym memberships and having to give up alcohol for a month or what have you. Basically, the idea has come from this one line. This happens to me quite a lot. I tend to make notes in my iPhone of little lyric ideas and things like that. This idea that I'm going to reflect on all the things that I really enjoyed about this Christmas. And one of them, obviously, the significance of the Christmas Radio Times that we buy every single year. And I think I must have flipped through it once and then it's been thrown away. But it's still quite a crucial part of Christmas. And the other thing that it came from was the fact that my sister, who am I kidding, I watch it as well, Zoella, Vlogmas, just the idea that it was kind of constantly on in the run-up to Christmas and over Christmas. Big fans of Zoe. The line that I have in my head at the moment is that I was sitting with Zoella in the Festive Radio Times. That's the line I have at the moment. But I've got to keep it relevant, and this seems relevant, January is about this. It's about this transition out of Christmas. So it's like a post-Christmas song, if you like. And to me, Christmas has been about Zoella and the Radio Times, apparently. Okay, so update. I have had an idea for a drum part for this song. I'm not really a drummer, that's a disclaimer. I like to use Logic to kind of, as in the program, not, my brain. Although I guess my brain is probably involved. I mean, it's definitely involved, isn't it? I like to use Logic Pro to sort of beat map things out. But the idea, I guess, is that I do play it at some point. So I'm trying to write within my means. That's very important at this point in time. I'd quite like to be able to do this song on my own. But yeah, so this is the idea that I've had. I apparently have decided on the tempo of 153 beats per minute. Significant time, obviously. I've decided that I quite like the verses to involve a sort of repetitive chord pattern because it kind of fits with the groove that I've written so far. Quite a high register for the piano, I guess. The idea being that we kind of leave all this sort of space here for a vocal part. I've tried to come up with a little chord sequence that I think is going to sort of reduce a bit of tension, add a bit of tension, create tension between that sort of repeating pattern in the verses. And I've decided that this sort of little chord sequence using sort of F sharp minor, C sharp major, D major 7, a little A6 again, just to go back to our home, if you like. Then you go to a B7, stay on that B7, go to a B minor 7. The only other thing I've tried is just sort of trying to come up with a little melody for that line, the sitting with Zoella and the Festive Radio Times. And at first I sort of tried, so it's sort of like sitting with Zoella and the Festive Radio Times. But the other idea I have is actually kind of starting with the A major, so sitting with Zoella and the Festive Radio Times. So yeah, those are the two ideas for that sort of line, but I'm thinking it's going to be a throwaway section. I quite like the idea of this song being quite sparse and just having some nice big moments rather than trying to write like a massive chorus. Not every song needs a massive chorus, as far as I see it anyway. I've just had another idea, rhyming with sitting with Zoella and the Festive Radio Times, something about Christian rhymes, the classic Cliff Richard sort of reference. Also, it's snowing. It doesn't look like it from the camera because it's obviously just sort of looks like rain, doesn't it? But how funny is that? Writing a post-Christmas song and it's actually snowing more than it did at Christmas. I've also sort of jotted down a structure at this point. I have a really loose idea of how it's going to go from here on out.
I have another line actually paraphrasing something from Here Comes the Sun by the Beatles. Something about George says the ice is slowly melting. So I kind of briefly mentioned this earlier that I had a little line. George, he said, or Georgie said, the ice is slowly melting. And basically, I came up with this sort of melody for it. So it's like, Georgie said. But that's, obviously in that octave it gets quite high. So if I start it there, right at the bottom of my range, I can barely do that, which is really embarrassing. So I'm just going to go the whole hog and move it up a fourth to D major. I don't know, I really like the sound of that. It's got a nice little brightness to it. But it'll be there. So here we are, ready to record drums in this very small space. I've effectively, in the next little while, got to teach myself to play these and record a reasonable take. I've got a cup of tea, which is essential for anything like this, any task that makes you feel slightly anxious and warm. It's quite a chilled out song, isn't it? I've basically just mic'd the kit up as best as I can, and I'm going to give it a go. It's lyric writing time. I'm not going to go into too much detail as to how I do this right now, but this is one of the key aspects of my writing that I depend on. So I think rhyming dictionaries are actually really good for writing songs because it takes that process out where you might use a terrible rhyme because you just want to carry on with writing the song. If I want to find a word that rhymes with something, I want an accompanying line perhaps, I can just flick through here and sort of see how many rhymes I can actually get out of it. And I'm not obsessed with rhyme. This is an important thing to sort of establish at this point. Certain songs suit it more than others. But somebody, I think it was Shelley, said that rhyme is a shelter for mediocrity. And I think it's true. If you can find a really good rhyme for something in a lyric, then it does help. It's not the be-all and end-all, but if you are wanting to write something that rhymes, these rhyming dictionaries, particularly this one, the Jean Lee's revised edition of the Modern Rhyming Dictionary. I've just had one of those really rare moments. I've just finished a 25, sort of 30-minute session of songwriting. And just through sitting here and persisting, and getting an acoustic guitar down and sort of playing through some sections. Every now and then, when you push it, the stars align. I don't believe in writer's block. I believe in pushing through and trying lots of different things until it works. I'm really pleased with what's come out of it, and that's exactly why I do this. And I think I really got the vibe of this song now. I feel like I'm really writing something that I can relate to and that works as a song. So in the meantime, cheers. Welcome to day 2 of drum recording. The snare's ringing quite a lot actually. Maybe who knows, maybe I'll put it on this side. Sounds literally exactly the same. I might tighten the snares a bit then. Oh, I'm going to play lots of takes. I've got to get it done today because I need this space back to record everything else. So I am now an hour in to recording the drums, and it's a lot harder than I thought it would be. I know what I want this to sound like, but I cannot physically do it. Either I've got to get a lot better at the drums, or I'm going to have to get someone else to do it. It's one of the two. But anyway, onwards and upwards, we will finish this today. So after what I thought was a pretty miserable drum recording session, I've started editing together what I played. And I'm quite pleased with it actually. It's not as bad as I thought it would be. I think it'll work. The kit sounds better recorded than it does in this very, very small room, which is always a bonus. And hopefully soon I can move on to the next part of the project, which will probably be either recording the acoustic guitar or the bass. Oh. Sorry, I just got a text. Now it's time for acoustic guitar. I think I've got a good idea of what I want to do with this actually. Now that we've recorded the drum track, it makes it a lot easier. So I want to make this a little bit sort of free and easy, in a sense that it's probably going to be slightly loose. The only thing that I'm making the exception for is towards the beginning of the song I'm going to sort of play finger picking style, and towards the end I'm going to get a plectrum. Give that the ending of the song a little bit more, a bit more drive. The electric guitar is going to be slightly different. That's going to take more of a back-seated role in the song. So yeah, I'm just going to track this now. We've put some ideas down and see what happens. It's now midnight. Again, another session of lyric writing has occurred. Sort of forced myself to sit down and actually write, and I'm quite pleased with what I've come up with again. It's getting to the point now where I'm running out of time and I need to get it done.
So yes, probably going to go to bed very soon. But another couple of hours of productivity.
Oh, and as a random side note, I also watched the film Love, Rosie tonight, and I really enjoyed it. Hello, it's a bright afternoon, so it's time to record some bass guitar. I've got an amp that I'm borrowing from my friend Jonna at the moment. I've got a microphone placed on the actual amplifier. I'm doing it that way rather than sort of going straight into the computer. I figured I wanted a slightly more natural sounding, in inverted commas. It sounds really sort of live when you do it through a bass amp. The main part of this project to me that's important is actually being less of a perfectionist. Just doing things and getting them down, getting it out there. And if I can do this in 7 days, then that's great, It is quite late. You can probably see by the clock behind me. Oh, can you? Yeah, 2 o'clock in the morning, but I have pushed through and finished the lyrics. And yeah, I don't know, it might be a good song. It's sometimes hard to tell until you actually start singing these things or hear someone else sing it. But yeah, I guess we'll see. We'll be able to reflect on this work tomorrow and see if it's any good. But it's done. So, that's that. So, I've just recorded the electric guitar, straight from the box, in with an Epiphone Casino, nice and vintage sounding. I'm really pleased with it actually. It's making a really weird noise, the amp. Everything in this room is making a weird noise, which is typical when I'm doing a project like this. You'll probably be able to hear that in the recording. If you watch this back, you'll hear all the little secrets that I've hidden in there. The Epiphone makes a lot of noise. I think there's a problem with it. Some people would argue that that adds character, so I'll just go with that. It adds character to the recording. You can't hear it that much. Right, looks like it's time to record the vocals. I've looked through the lyrics and I'm pleased with them. I think it'll work. And to sing it through a couple of times, get some good takes down, and hopefully then record some backing vocals afterwards. Let's see how it goes. So, I've just done the first batch of vocals, and as you can probably hear, I've worn out my voice. Not surprising considering that I've had a bad cold, but I've managed to get down quite a lot. The end of the song is probably my favourite part of it, which I know is a bit of a weird thing to say. Not because it's over, but because it's what I think is quite a cool bit. I'm now going to wait until tomorrow morning before I record again to allow my voice to recover, but hopefully it's just a case of just singing it through a couple of times tomorrow in order to sort of finish it off, and then it'll be the mixing stage. So we're back, we're recording the vocals again. My voice is back, which is the good news. Yeah, I feel like I'm now ready to take on some of those slightly more difficult bits. Also, my hair is incredibly voluminous today for whatever reason. Don't know how that happened, but it has. Yeah, so onwards to do more vocal takes, and I think we'll pretty much be done. Crucial part of my mixing process is the family dog, Dumpling. Whenever I'm mixing, I sometimes like to sit him here. There we go, look, he knows I said the word mixing, so he sits down. And he'll sit here while I edit through the tracks and things like that. As a general rule, if he runs away, it's not a good sign. But most of the time he just kind of sits there very politely, offering the odd comment every now and then, critiquing the mixing process. But yes, I can't have him in here when I record because he barks too much. He still barks at the postman every single day. Apart from Sunday, no post on Sundays. I like to give him a tickle under the chin before I start mixing as well, to butter him up a little bit. More likely to stay. I'll give you some treats if you like this one, Dumpling. He's not bothered, is he? Oh no, there we go, he's just relaxing back into it. Lovely. I've just got one last thing to add to the song. There's a line in the first verse which features the phrase, Happy New Year. So it would be silly not to have some kind of celebration going on in the background. So I'm going to use this microphone from a distance. I'm going to make sort of party-like noises and layer it over and sort of see how that works. I also sense that with it being a little bit festive sounding, that maybe it could benefit from having a bit of glockenspiel on it, just to give it a little bit of a festive edge. So I'll try that as well and see if it stays in the mix. Well, in the words of Frodo Baggins, it's over. It's finally over. I can't believe that it's happened in 6 days, something like that. Remarkable. I've decided the single cover for every single song that I write will be a picture of my face within 5 minutes of me finishing the project. So I'm going to take a picture of my face now with my camera, and that will be the January one. But yes, hooray, all finished. Very pleased with this one. I'm sure you will be too. That was the story of how I wrote the song New Year, Still Me. Now I really hope you've enjoyed today's video, and if you have, there's a couple of things I'd love for you to do. First of all, why not hit that subscribe button? I wouldn't want you to miss out on anything. Also, if you're feeling particularly generous, I'd love for you to join my Patreon community. That way, you can be part of the story that is yet to be written. Thank you again for watching. I'll see you next time.